Hey guys, it's me, Krista here with Blooms and Brushstrokes, and oh, I'm so pumped. I am so excited to paint this dahlia with you guys. So this is part 2 of the dahlia. I'm very excited. I haven't been this excited to paint something in quite a long time. So yeah, I don't know. I think I must be missing flowers immensely or something because as soon as I drew this out, I was so pumped to paint it. So I've got quite a few of you guys have already sent me a message saying that you're so excited and very pumped to do this. So yeah, let's get to it. So I'm just going to refresh you guys with this is the previous dahlia. We're going to do similar technique, different size of flower, I guess. And I'm going to use a different variation of color while still using slightly similar. I think I'm going to keep it on like the more peachy orange tones, but of course with the purple and all that stuff. So I don't want to do it exactly the same, but I know that everybody loves this because of the colors in it. So we'll stick similar, but also change it up. So as I mentioned in the previous video, part 1, I'm using the Mungyo Paints. Some people don't have rave reviews about these. What I do like about them is there's a lot of different colors in there that are they're just already there. You don't have to mix them, but of course, you know me, I love to mix my colors and get different shades and tones and everything like that. So this is the palette I'm going to use. The reason I'm going to use it is because because of the variety of colors, but also because when I paint with it, they don't bleed too much. There's quite a bit of control with them, which I think is, you know, not necessarily what watercolor artists always want, but that's what I want for this. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm just gonna get them wet, activate them, give them a minute to kind of get going, and then we're gonna start off with the first layers. This water bottle is crappy. Yeah, that's what you get for buying them at the dollar store. I'm just going to let those activate. So the colors that I am going to use are going to be in the yellows, oranges, rusts, probably like a little bit of purple once we get to the middle. I'm just going to feel it out. But I have this feeling of like the more peachy kind of, I have like inside, in my brain, I get this more peachy vibe going on. So we're going to get cracking, you guys, and just start painting because why the heck not? So get your sketch that you sketched out previously, get your paints all activated, get all your supplies, your paintbrushes, your paper towel, your blotting paper. I'm going to grab my swatch book because people have mentioned that they like when I say what the colors are. So I'll try my best to do that, and then we'll just get painting, you guys. All right, you guys. So this is the moment that we have all been waiting for, the dahlia. I'm very excited about this, as I was just saying. So in order to paint this dahlia, there's a few things that we need to cover. First of all, the dahlia is done in layers, layer upon layer upon layer. In here, it's pretty dark. You can go over it with your, I forget what this is called, this eraser. I'm going to attribute all this to my perimenopause brain. Sorry, you guys, but that's the time of my life that I'm in. And I cannot remember a dang thing, like if my life depended on it. So I'm really struggling. So bear with me. I know I probably sound ridiculous sometimes. Like, I don't remember the name of this. That's not usually the case for me, but it has been for the last little while. So in order to paint this properly, or basically, well, Tex is sitting on top of the other dahlia painting, so I'm not going to disrupt him because he's being a good boy at the moment. But it's a lot of layers upon layers. So in this dahlia, we are actually going to start with the stem and the leaves. If you want to have a little bit of a background color, have at her. I'm not going to put anything in the background. I'm just going to leave it the white, but I am going to paint the stem and I'm going to paint the leaves. And so we're going to start with that very, very first. Oh, here we go, Tex. You want to be a party animal. And the reason that I want to paint those first, drop down the first layer of color on them, is because they're in the background. There was no stem, no Tex, and no leaves in the previous one. But this just kind of makes the composition a little bit better. So I'm going to... You are a brat. He was laying down And I thought I could meander my way over here without him picking on us, but he's not behaving. Okay. So we're going to start with our text. No. You guys can see his little paws. He's just wanting to be so in on it. You're a brat and I need this so I can tell people what colors we're using. Okay, you can lay there still. Just not on that. Okay. Too funny. All right, so we're going to start with the stem, as I was saying there. So I'm going to drop down some water. This will be wet on wet. No Texas. Back up. Again, it doesn't have to be totally perfect. Putting down your water. And then I'm going to go in with the gray. Actually, we'll do this 840 green yellow. We're going to start with that. I'm a little rusty with these paints because it's been a long time since I painted with them. But this is just going to be our first pass over. And we just want it to be bright color in there. And that's going to be our background. No, buddy. Oh, and he's dipping his hand in the water and drinking it. Great. Okay. So we got that down. That's just our first pass. A stem of a dahlia. Right now I'm using the number 8 Aqua Elite Princeton brush. It's a round brush. Long round is what it's called. Just so you know. Okay, so we're going to go and do these leaves. There's this one coming out from underneath. And I'm going to drop some water down. Again, wet on dry. And I'm going to go in with this one. I'm going to use the olive green. 838 is the number on that. That's beside the green yellow. I think that's what. And we're just going to put that down there. Kind of loosely, just let it be so. And then we're going to do this one over here. So as I said, you guys, Tex, you are literally paws in wet paint right now. This is definitely going to be done in a few parts because, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm doing this leaf as well. I'm just dropping it down loosely. This is just our first pass. We'll get more detailed with the layering, as I mentioned earlier. This painting is all about the layering. Same with the leaves. And this is definitely going to be done in a few parts. I'm thinking, I did the drawing in the last one, and then this one, and then definitely the finale, because okay, I'm going down the stem again one more time with that olive green, adding a bit of dimension in there while it's still a little bit wet. Perfect. Awesome. So that's going to be our first pass on that. We're going to let that totally dry. And then we'll likely do one more pass over with a bit different color green on there. And that will probably do it for that. Again, remember, lots of the detail is done with the ink at the end. Oh, that. Okay, so As I said, I want to do peach kind of colors in this one, peachy orange, brighter orange. Now you can see in the previous one, there is some of that as well. I want to stick to more of the peachy orange as opposed to going so deep with the purples, but we'll see. Again, everything is all by feel for me. So you never know what direction this is going to take. So for this, we basically want to go over the flower with almost a wash of a light yellowy orange color. We almost want to do that whole thing because that is what's going to, let me grab this one so I can show you guys. But basically, we'll do, you can see that that peachy kind of color is kind of the base of almost all of those petals. So I'm not going to do an entire wash over it all, but we're going to do a wash over quite a few of these petals to begin with. We'll leave out a few white spots, just a very, very few, but otherwise we're going to go in with yellows, like really pastel yellow, really pastel orange, peachy color, and do our first pass over on all of the petals. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to do like highly, highly diluted yellow orange. And I'm talking so diluted that it comes out pastel-y looking. I'm just going to grab this and so I can show you guys. So I'm just using that straight yellow orange and I'm really diluting it. That's pretty good. I'm almost going to add a little bit of, so it's a little bit more orangey. So I added a tiny little, just a dot of the scarlet in there, which is the reddish, to kind of get a little bit of that more orangey color. So we're going to do wet, wet on wet. And we're going to work our way out from the center. So here in the center, I'm going to kind of go down. I got a little bit of orange on my brush. That's okay. I'm just going to do it once over there. Drop in a little bit of that color. And we'll start to work our way out. Again, you guys, this here is our very base color. Don't stress, this is our very first wash. We want it to be light. As you see, coming to the center in this one, it gets quite a bit darker, so there can be a little bit more pigment in the center, and then as we go to the outer edges, it's going to become softer. But we're just kind of going in and giving that wash, putting down some water. I'll bump up to the number 12 Royal Langnickel. It's a Sovereign L95100. Wet. And we'll just move some of that around. And on the tips here, you can just use a little bit of water that has a teeny little bit of that pigment in there. We're just moving it all out. Leave some white, totally fine. Leave some entirely white petals. All good. As you can see, there's that. So I'm going to go in with more water, dilute that orangey, yellowy orange that I put down there. And I'm talking diluted. And you can just go in and drop some of that color, a little bit more of that, kind of all around and inside the petal. When I mean inside the petal, if we're going a little bit deeper, I mean in the middle of the petal. Not where the petal is folding over, but in the middle where it would show more shadow or depth. So in the middle section. I mean, we're not doing detail at all. Right now, this is just, we're adding a little bit of that in there. as it comes out. I think this is already looking. With our stem here, I want to get in there with, oops, sorry you guys. I'm going to go in with the deep green here, but I'm going to just kind of make it a little bit more earthy by mixing some of the gray green into it. It's just a, well, maybe just a tiny bit of the gray green into it. As you know with me, I love to mix color, so I'm never totally satisfied with exactly what is on the palette. There's just, I mean, I love all the colors, but it's just like, oh, you just have to make your own colors to go with them. So that's a little bit more the color I want. Maybe even add a little bit more of that green back in there. Like, yes, that deepness. I love that. Okay, so now the page is dry and we're going to go on with wet brush dry paper. And so I'm going to do the stem here first, and we're just going to go down the sides. To create that depth. And then with a clean brush, you can kind of go in and just soften the edges. I'm going on with pretty heavy pigment, pretty dry brush to just really add in that little last bit of detail there, which I love that. And that I went in straight with that deep green on the tip of my brush with less water on my brush so it's not dripping. Okay, and then we'll go in with this leaf here coming in the back. And so, you know, where it's coming out from behind the flower, it'll be more dark because there's going to be shadow cast on it. And then of course, as it gets out to the tip here, it'll be brighter. So we're going to do the same thing. I put down water on that actually, so it's going to dilute it quite a bit. Watch it bloom around a bit. And then we can go in and kind of pick up some of that and then just move it around a bit. And we can put in that line down the center. Totally cool. Again, there's lots of water on there, but we can go in with a pretty dry brush and then that deep green and create some of that outline. If it looks too sharp, soften it with your brush with a little bit of water on it. I got pigment on here, and then we're just going to go deep, deep, deep around here. Because this will be the darkest part. And then this will be shadowed on this side as well. And that looks good. So I'm going to continue on with that same style where we're dropping down some dark and then really enhancing it into both of these leaves here. And then this will be dry enough that we can start working on it. There we go. So I'm not going to mess with those anymore. We're going to let those totally dry, and I love how they look. Yeah, I'm just going to let them do their thing, and then we'll, of course, add more detail with the gold metallic ink and then the Micron archival ink pen. In this second layer, we're going to start to work from the outside petals inwards, because we want to work on the background petals and then the ones that are not the background. So we're going to start in the background. So I'm going to end up moving my page around a little bit. So I'm sorry, it's not going to stay in the one spot. Basically, we're going to start. So on the outer edges where the flips are over, those are going to be our lightest spots. And so they're going to be so light that I'm going to leave them the color they are now. So we're going to go in and work on the center. You know, we might end up touching something up with a little bit of different color, but we want the light to be on these, like the look of the light to be on the pieces that are folding in. So we're really working, again, as you can see here, those are the light spots. Where the dark, where we really layer in, is the center spot. So we're working from the outside all the way to the inside. So I'm going to start down here, and I'm actually going to drop down water. It's going to be a mix of wet on wet and then wet on dry. So bear with me and do what you feel is what is appropriate for what you're doing. So we're starting on this one. I dropped down some water, and we're going to go in with a bit of that brighter orangey color. So the 805 YO, diluted though, but quite bright. Still quite bright. And we're going to drop it down. In there. We're going to pick up some of that color and leave it bright in the corner there. Kind of a little bit brighter. And we don't want to do every single petal this way. Like we want it to be a variety. So I'm going to skip over a couple, and then here's this one right here. Nice big one. And I'm going to go in there and do this one next. Again, I'm leaving out some of that white or the lighter color to give the look of dimension and to give shine and brightness. So you can drop that in there. It's pretty bright. Maybe I don't want it that bright, or not all of it that bright. So you can go and pick up some of that color. Very nice. And then we're just going to work away doing that. All the way around for our first passover. And you can do different amounts of pigment, less or more as you go. And then we'll do one more in this. We'll go over on this one here. It's coming out from behind. And I want it to be quite a bit of pigment in this area where it pokes out from underneath. Because it's tucked back in there, it would be darker, right? Like so. Okay, these are probably still a little bit damp. No, buddy, get off of there. Hey, don't bite me. So these could still be a little bit damp, and that's cool. So we maybe want to go in there with a bit of a deeper kind of orange color, deeper orangey yellow, kind of peachy color. Trying to mix up some vermilion with the yellow orange, these two together, to give us a little bit more of that orangey kind of color, peachy, orangey. Now it's probably still, like I said, a little bit wet, which is perfect time to get in there and drop some of that in there. You see, it kind of blooms a bit, but not a crazy amount. That's kind of why I'm using these paints right now, because they're not big bloomers and there's a little bit more control with them. Spinning us around here. Diluting that yellow orange quite a bit. And carrying on. So we're going in with that vermilion. This is such a therapeutic painting for me. So often when I get into painting like this, there's a lot of dead silence because I get so into it. It's almost like meditative for me. You know, when people paint those mandalas, it's kind of the same thing, but in the realm of watercolor. So I've got those colors down. Really like that. I actually want to go in with some of these ones on the edge as well with some bright yellow, but also obviously super diluted. But I do want them to be quite yellowy. So I am going to do, you know, still my outer pass through. These ones are probably drier over here. And we're going to go in with yellow. This one I just did wet on dry. So dropping down that paint. That's a pretty bright yellow. I kind of want to dilute it a bit. So I'm just going to go in with my clean-ish brush and pick up some of that pigment so it's just not so intense. That worked out fine. I love that yellow. Wow, I need somewhere to put my paint down. Okay, so in order to get it light enough, I am going to go in doing the wet on dry because it just, or sorry, wet on wet. The wet on dry is just too intense and I want it to stay quite soft. So I'm dropping down some water here. I'm going to go in with that yellow. Oh, and the yellow that I'm using is the lemon yellow, but very diluted, you guys. So that's this one here. 802 lemon yellow. Again, I don't expect you guys to have the same paints as me, so use something similar if you want your painting to turn out exactly like mine, or use entirely different colors. But the whole idea is the layering of it and starting off with the lightest color and then moving into more brightness. And I'm not going to do every single one of them this bright yellow. I just want to add a few in here. All right, so I'm just going to continue to work my way around the outside petals. And I think I'll just work in, you know, this layer around here. And I think we'll call it a day for that just because I think it's going to get overwhelming. So we're going to keep working with some of those yellows. I'm going to flip it over this way. There we are. And we're doing the wet on wet. I think I keep saying wet on dry, but I actually mean wet on wet. It's softer. The color is much softer when you do that than if you do wet paint onto dry paper. And that's the name of the game here. We want softness and some brightness. And that's the whole thing, is to play around with the amount of pigment you're using, the depth of the color you're using. Just play around with it. Honestly, you don't want it to all look exactly the same every petal, because the light hits them each differently. So if they all look exactly the same, then it's just going to look one-dimensional, and that's not what a flower is at all. So just play around with your color and colors and just have a good time exploring that. So again, I'm going to go in with a little bit of that peach. Maybe not even on every single one that has yellow in it, just a little bit. So I'm going to mix that yellow and the yellow orange together. So the lemon yellow and yellow orange together to get a pretty bright orange. Oops, and I forgot to do my wet on wet, but that's okay. Actually, that worked out good. So we'll do a few like this. That'll give it kind of a little bit more depth. Yeah, I don't mind that. That's working out good. Where we're at with this. So these ones that are just a little bit more controlled, they are wet on dry. Okay, you guys, so I'm just gonna quickly go over some more of these petals around the outer edges, and then we're gonna wrap this up for today. The reason we're gonna do that is because it gets overwhelming, and not that I'm feeling overwhelmed, because I could just carry on and carry on and carry on and finish this painting with no trouble. However, then I think the quality of the tutorial is gonna get lost if I try to cram too much in at once. So I'm going to touch up some more of these outer petals, and we're going to leave these center ones for the next tutorials. Very nice, you guys. This one's looking so good already. Okay, so I think I'm going to hold tight at this point in time here in the flower so that we can space out what we're doing. So keep it light and soft around your edges. You know, brightness kind of in those crevices where there would be more depth. You can add a little bit of shadow into there. We will add much more shadow with our next passes as well, but you can add a little bit of it to start with by just dropping some darker color in there and keeping it bright. As we get to the center, we're going to start to go deeper, but we will add a passover of lightness as well. But you can already see that flower coming together real beautifully. The leaves look great. I love those. I think they're going to look even better once we get the micron ink and the Winsor Newton ink in there. So that's going to do it for tutorial number 2. All right, you guys, so that is going to wrap it up for tutorial number 2. We've made it this far, which I think is great progress. It can get overwhelming if there's too much going on at one time. I think playing around with this and getting those petals laid in there is perfect. If you want to jump ahead and continue to fill in all those petals going towards the center, totally fine, because we're going to have to do one kind of pass through on everything. So if you want to do that, go ahead. If you feel it's sufficient where we're at finishing at today, awesome. I think we did a lot. We covered the stem, the leaves, and the outer petals of the flower. I think that's great. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to doing part 3, but I don't want to overwhelm you guys. And honestly, if it were up to me, I would just get in the zone and this flower would be, I'd be probably here painting all the rest of tonight. So we're just going to let that be. However, again, don't feel like you have to stop. If you're in the mode and you want to get those filled in right to the center, totally fine. Just keep following the same idea, using different tones, different levels, different colors as you move throughout the flower, because a flower has multiple colors in it depending on the light that shines on it. And also flowers are just, they aren't all necessarily one solid color. So make sure you stick with that. And yeah, that's going to do it for this tutorial. So thank you guys so much for watching. I cannot wait to do the rest of the flower with you guys. I think it's going to be awesome. So, but thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys in part 3.